Okay, welcome to my presentation today. I'm Linh, and now we will concentrate on the last topic today, named MH17 Incident and Analytics of Aviation Insurance Coverage. The presentation today will have two main parts to focus on. The first is introduction and the liability regime. About the introduction, this tragic event occurred on July 18, 2014 over eastern Ukraine, killing all 298 people abroad and once again raising concerns for the safety of innocent air passengers in a conflict zone. The fact that a number of Ukrainian military aircraft were shot down by separatists in the regions recently, well within the knowledge of authorities, but international air passengers will keep open. This is difficult to accept. Additionally, the tragedy raises the questions of insurance coverage of such incidents for the loss of aircraft as well as for the damage to the third parties on ground by the survivor of deceased passengers and crew. The insurance liability are not easy to settle, and the process turns out to be very lengthy and complex both for the insurers, including reinsurers and insurers. It appears that the aircraft was hit by a missile or crashed for some other reason like a mechanical failure, or whether it was a passenger plane or mistaken for a warplane, as indicated by the investigation that followed. So what will we know in this article? The paper discusses the types of insurance policies available for aviation, their coverage and exclusions, as well as the different legal provisions.
Alo, mọi người không nghe Linh Sang nói nha. Rồi lại
Mọi người thấy lại slide chưa ạ? Alo.
thấy lại rồi.
Dạ, dạ. The paper discusses the types of insurance policies available for aviation, their coverage and exclusions, as well as the different legal provisions in different countries and the international conventions related to them. Next, let's talk about the liabilities regime with the liability for the death or injury to a passenger. The Workers' compensation being the first step toward regulating aviation liabilities culminated in the Warsaw System, which includes the Warsaw Convention 1929, the Hague Protocol 1955, the Warsaw Convention 1961, and the Guatemala City Protocol 1971. The Montreal Convention 1999 is expected to replace the Warsaw System, as is evident from the wide response it's getting from various countries. Until this situation arises, the Warsaw Convention 1929 will still apply to countries that have not ratified the amending conventions and protocols of the Warsaw System nor have become part of the Montreal Convention 1999. For example, the country A is a party to Warsaw System as well as Montreal Convention 1999, and the country B to Warsaw Convention 1929 only. In case of an accident of aircraft during flight from the country A to the country B, the provisions of Warsaw Convention 1929 would apply to the master cover in it because it's the only convention to which both the countries are parties. About the Montreal Convention 1999, the Montreal Convention provides protection to consumers of international carriage and is a step toward modernizing, consolidating, and improving the Warsaw System. Besides that, the scope and application of Montreal Convention 1999 is enhanced by applying it to the contracting as well as the actual carrier and by fixing their mutual liability. The liability system is also improved by introducing strict liability of the carrier except in case of contributory negligence in art. In addition, to the extent of 113,100 special drawing rights for death or bodily injury to the passenger under Article 17. Above this limit, the carrier is not liable if it's proved non-negligence on this part or the damage was resulted by the act of third party. These provisions can be interpreted to make carrier liable for damage caused by terrorist or war activity. Article 33 of the Montreal Convention 1999 has also introduced an additional fifth jurisdiction for the claims to be brought in case of death or injury of a passenger. The fifth jurisdiction allows a suit to be filed in the state party where the passenger had at the time of the accident principal and permanent residence. The Convention of 1999 has effect of the relations IATA agreements among state parties to it in respect of the matters including liability covered by convention. As number of state parties is increasing, the provisions and liabilities limited are bidding on them or by providing for it in their respective domestic law. Then we will talk about the delay and destruction, loss or damage to the baggage. The Convention 1999 makes the carrier liable for delay to an amount of 4,693.65 rounded 4,694 special drawing rights for each passenger. As well as in case of destruction, loss, damage, or delayed baggage, the liability of the carrier is limited to 1,131 special drawing rights for each passenger. If the passenger does not declare her interest in receiving the checked baggage and has not paid the carrier and the supplementary fee at the time of the handing over the baggage may not delivery. The does not apply in this case of carrier's intent and recklessness. The carrier is not liable for an extent of inherent defect in baggage. For unchecked baggage, the carrier is liable for damage caused by its fault only. For checked baggage, Warsaw system liabilities is 250 francs per kilogram, and for unchecked baggage, it is 5,000 francs per passenger. The third liability is for surface damage and towards third party. Many attempts at the international level to achieve consensus on liability for surface damage and third-party insurance have been unsuccessful. Rome Convention 1952, amended by Protocol of 1978, was the first major step towards third-party liability, but it could not be fructified with the meager support of 49 countries. Currently, ICAO is taking further. Sorry. Uh, Currently, ICAO is taking further initiative initiative to modernize the Rome Convention by floating two more conventions on the issues of third-party liability. The conventions create separated liability in case of unlawful interference um, and in case of the general risk. The convention related to unlawful interference creates a maximum strict liability up to special drawing drives 700 million, except in certain circumstances. The general risk convention creates liability for damage due to death and bodily injury. Provides for compensation for mental injury also if it caused by a recognizable physical illness resulting either from bodily injury from direct exposure to the livelihood or immediate death or bodily injury. A strict liability regime is created by the convention, which is exonerated in case of contributory negligence. The liability per event is up to 750,000. Special drawing drive for lightest aircraft and 5,000 700,000 special drawing drive for the heaviest aircraft. In Australia, the damage by aircraft Act 1999 provides for the unlimited strict third-party liability without the need to prove negligence, though the same will depend on the valuer. Many countries like New Zealand, Singapore, member EU member like United Kingdom and France uh, uh, are France provide for strict and unlimited third-party liability like Australia. Besides that, USA also imposes unlimited fault-based liability, while Germany, Italy, and Romania provide for strict but limited liability, except where the carrier is negligent. Although the conventions on third-party liability are criticized on many counts, yet it needs to be supported and be given proper thought by the industry as well as the government so that international consistency may be achieved in this. The insurance coverage by airlines. Uh, Insurance is a type of contingent contract. The performance of which depends on the happening of any untoward future event beyond the control of the parties. The insurer and the risk of loss suffered by the sufferer is spread over a number of the other insured premium payer who, along with the sufferer, pay an agreed amount of money to the insurer. In aviation insurance, the insurance rules are based on the general principles of insurance. As in any types of insurance, the loss suffered by an airline is compensated from pool of insurance premiums collected from airlines in the general. Okay. Aviation insurance, though compared with the motor accident insurance and marine insurance, is an independent and well-developed branch of insurance today. It has become a specialized and separated field uh, because of its unique characteristics, like flights crossing national boundaries of different jurisdiction and a legal system with different interpretation of terms, most advanced and rapidly changing technologies related to a manufacturer, security, speed, sound, fuel, etc. It's estimated that between 1998 and 2000, fuel passengers and third-party claims exceeded premiums by about $2 in the decade 2001. There were only 4 years where market premium exceeded incurred claims, and for that 10 years as a whole, claims exceeded premium by 30 $69. Uh, avi- Aviation insurance market covers a wide variety of customers from aircraft manufacturers, passengers, third party to service providers, resulting in even more types of um, this customer gets insurance from their primary. They in turn contract with other insurers by paying premium to insure their liabilities under the policies sold by them. These second insurers are called reinsurers and the insurance reinsurance. Continue is passenger liability insurance. Uh, at 50 of Montreal Convention 1999 makes it mandatory for the state parties to require their carrier to get proper insurance to meet their liabilities under the convention. The absolute and fixed liability regime created by Montreal Convention requires the airline to have availability availability of adequate funds to compensate for the interest and meet. Moreover, in Australia, the Civil Aviation Act 1959 provides for mandatory insurance coverage for passenger liabilities in case of death or injury. This mandatory requirement is applicable to all carriers flying to, from, or within Australia to meet the requirements of Act 50 of Montreal Convention 1990. Now, if an accident occurs causing death or injury to the passengers, the insurance is liable even if the carrier failed to take safety measurement required by law. This provision is similar to Part 205 of Federal Aviation Regulations. In Australia, the carriers have to make a declaration before Australia's Civil Aviation Safety Authority of having proper insurance rather than getting a certificate of insurance. If any operators fail to make declaration, its authorization to carry passenger would automatically fail, and carrying passengers without authority entail administrative, penalty, and criminal actions. Sorry. As per European Council Regulation 785 2004, United Kingdom and other European countries make it mandatory for the airlines to obtain minimum insurance of two 250,000 special during drives per passenger. US requires insurance of uh, three 300,000 passenger, $300,000 per passenger. The third-party liability insurance. Uh, Although there's no specific provision for third-party liabilities insurance yet, the practice adopted by world major airlines review the fact that to maintain a place in the market to compete with the rival, the airlines go for third-party insurance. In the commercial world, a comprehensive insurance is required as a leasehold agreement for aircraft. Um, Require huge insurance and corporate. As per European Council regulation, the third-party insurance is compulsory and its limit would increase with the maximum takeoff mass, weight, or aircraft. The regulation provides for a minimum of a special during drive, 700 million. For the heaviest aircraft in US, this limit is $2 million per occurrence. Singapore, United Arab Emirates, and some other countries also require third-party insurance in one form or other. The war risk insurance. The war risk insurance covers the damage or destruction to the body of aircraft or surface damage and injury to or death of passenger or third party caused by war, terrorist activities, weapon or mass destruction, or using aircraft itself as a weapon of mass destruction. At the loss caused by war or terrorist activities, etc., is not measurable beforehand, so that it can diversify among insurers and can be shared with large number of insurers. In the case of reinsurance, insurance industry had always been reluctant to provide airlines with war risk insurance under the standard war, hijacking, or other peril exclusion clause. However, the airlines have the option to purchase against these perils on the payment of additional premium and include it as a right-back clause. Um, After the incident of September 11, 2001, aviation insurance market experienced a remarkable dip in war risk insurance, causing extra burden on the government to provide the carriers with the indemnity cover. The Convention on Unlawful Interference proposes an as International Civil Aviation Compensation Fund. The international fund is to give support to carriers in such situation on payment of certain amount as fees so as to minimize their dependence on insurance players. Uh, after uh, after September 11, aviation insurance market experienced a record low as the loss occurred were unforeseeable and far more exceeded the loss caused by other incidents like accident or natural calamity. To thought the situation aviation insurance industry came forward for the proposal of limited insurance under certain circumstances. Uh, certain circumstances. Now the current position is that the right back clause AVN 52E is used allowing the insurer and insurer to reinstate agreed exclusion. Um, the situation after the MH70 occurred, aviation industry already running on a thin profit margins get badly affected by the incident like that of MH17. The event reminded the reverse incident of the like nature as though relating to the disappearance of MH37 and Euro a few months back with about 250 persons on board. Uh, immediately after the incident, ICAO released in a joint statement on risk to civil aviation arising from conflict zones, along with International Air Transport Association, Airports Council International, and Civil Air Navigation Services Organization, expressing a strong condemnation of the use of weapons against civil aviation. ICAO is further convening a high-level safety conference with all its 191 members in February 20 and 15. The incident at H7 also raised concerns about flying over restricted area. Although the flight, as per preliminary report by Dutch safety on board, was above the restricted height, the question common to all flight is that should not precaution to be taken and common sense be applied to avoid such conflict areas for sake of human lives. Finally, is conclusion of the trend of market towards third-party liability insurance and world risk insurance is in a fluctuating condition. Though the governments are trying to cover the gap by providing various streams, but the insurance markets as such is still hesitating because of the nature of the risk. There should be some mandate for the insurer and the reinsurer also to cover the risk to the certain limit. John used for the John used for the various purpose and suggested use of the drone by U.S. for the commercial purpose further complicates the risk factor for the underwriter. There's the urgent need to come together on the issue to have the harmonious solution. And that's all for the presentation. Thank you for your listening.